we'll go ahead and get started then. So we say welcome. Welcome to you. We're so glad that you're here. And this is really a time for you. We're hopeful that this will be a time for you for renewal, for encouragement, for connection, and just to spend a bit of time in community in our times. And this is something that really was the brainchild of Dr. Tina Harris and is definitely a part of the work and scholarship that she has been doing. It really stems as well from the work of the Proactive Support for NCA's mission and members working group. And in their work, so many of you as members of NCA responded to a survey that asked information from you about how you're doing and what can NCA be doing. And so as a result of that survey and Dr. Harris's phenomenal thinking, then it results in this wonderful space for a VLO. And we'll have one this fall today, and then we'll have another in the spring. And so we're so glad that you're able to be present and to be a part of today's conversation. As we get started, what you can expect to have occurring today is first, there'll be opportunities for individuals to share and to talk in breakout session rooms. You'll want to have paper, pencil next to you, or use the screen if you prefer to type, then that's okay. But we've embedded opportunities for you to spend time reflecting and thinking, so that this is time literally for you to heal, in addition to us talking about time to heal. We'll ask during the time that I'm talking or Dr. Harris is talking, we'll ask that you put your selves on mute, but there'll be a point later for you to be able to come off of mute as well. All right, so let's get started. So I wanted to share a bit about origins for me, because this resonated with me, Dr. Harris's work and Dr. Harris's commitment to do this work, primarily because of my experience with brokenheartedness and being in need of healing. And so through that process of loss for me personally, I spoke about this last year at the convention as first vice president. I won't speak again about it here, but it has led me into using virtual spaces as a way to help facilitate the healing of others from a communications perspective. And so I think from that work, for me, stories of origin are both distinctive, they're not the same, they're unique. We all have different journeys, and they also are dynamic. Even with our own respective journeys, they evolve and change over time. And so we can choose to do that alone, which can be really hard, or sometimes we can choose to do that with a community or with other people for different kinds of healing journeys that we need throughout the course of our professional and personal lives. And so this is my way of saying, I see you and your journeys, and that all of us are not on the same journey, and yet we are growing and evolving and changing. And so I want to say thank you first for being present. Thank you for trusting and entrusting us with your time. And I also wanted to explain why I feel so strongly and am so grateful to the woman that you will hear from next, because so much of her work is embedded, and so much of her mentorship is embedded in the development and the growth of not just NCA members, but also those who will be future NCA members. And so with that, I turn things over to Dr. Tina Harris to tell you a bit about her scholarship and her work.
Well, good morning, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. I cannot believe that we are in week 7 of the semester already. Oh, my goodness. So I don't know about you all, but I need this little break and this respite to come together and just kind of talk about how we deal with the stress that comes with our respective. So as you can see, this VLO is titled Virtual Healing Spaces, a place for community building. I am someone who is very much committed to community. And since 2022 or 2020, virtual spaces have really become important. So if we can go to the next slide. Okay. Yeah, so the virtual healing spaces is something that was I guess you could say it was kind of a two-parter, or maybe even a three-parter. The first, is that in 2020, we all know that we had dual pandemics that we were, subjected to. We had the coronavirus going on, as well as the racial injustices that really took over the U.S. And we were locked down. We really couldn't communicate with people. I mean, the only way that we really could was through these digital spaces. And I thought about it yesterday, and I was like, wow, my family and I tried to do that through digital spaces. We FaceTime once. Now after that, we're like, we'll see you all later. It didn't work. We still love each other, but that was not a space for us to get together. However, I did see that as I was looking for spaces to release stress and to really feel connected and just to make sense of everything that was going on, I started, just surfing the internet just like everybody else. I was joining various you know, fo groups on Facebook so I could just feel like these women understand they understand what I'm going through because they may be in a similar space. And people in general in another group might have felt the same way. And sometimes it was a means of escape to not think about the race and the sexism and all the other things that were going on. So, the year 2020 also reflected people's need for digital spaces because they were um, seeking, or they were, it was a result of the social unrest that was going on. We had the Me Too movement going on as well. And then adding to all of that was the change in modalities in communication, for the workplace. So we switched from being in person to teaching online and having all of our meetings online. And then even our personal relationships, we try to nurture those through online modalities as well. And so we can see that through these different contexts and situations, that there was a growing need for human communication and normalcy. We wanted to try and find that in some way. We tried to recreate that. One way that think I I did a pretty good job, I think, of trying to replicate that, is through a virtual writing retreat that I established in 2022, and it's titled Sisters with a Purpose. And so it's a week-long retreat that brings together women of color who have the space to write. It takes place during the summertime, and I was able to get funding to do this thanks to Villanova University, specifically the Waterhouse Family Institute. They have been supportive of this amazing opportunity. And it's an opportunity to create a virtual community. We provide each other with social support. There's connection there. And there's this intentional catharsis and healing that seems to have evolved as a result, of us coming together. And it's also a safe space for mentoring. I initially envisioned this retreat to be in person, but COVID came, and then eventually I looked at a budget. I talked with friends, who were telling me the logistics of, doing an in-person retreat, and I was like, oh, that will deplete all of my cheer funds. So we had to scale back, and we were essentially, forced to do it virtually because of COVID. But that turned out to be a blessing in disguise. We just completed the third. Third or fourth. I can't do math. Anyway, so I think it's the fourth retreat that we have done this year. And every year it evolves into something beautiful that reaffirms for me the importance of virtual healing spaces. This past year's cohort was a group of women, who really expressed a need for social support. Yes, they had the opportunity to work on their research and other, projects that were uh, it was just critical, I think, because the women were saying that we needed this space, we needed this time to come together, to encourage each other, to heal, or at least to be on the pathway to heal, because we've all had different kinds of hurts, whatever they may be, and even though the hurt did not occur in Swamp. At least I hope there was no hurt. That this was a place for people to really recognize that it's important for us to come together, and because of their willingness to be a part of this community, they were able to have their those needs met. So moving forward. Oh, thank you, Jasmine. Jasmine Austin was one of our swappers this summer, so she's made a comment, and I see Doris is here as well. So for me, in case you all don't know, I'm a black woman. The surprise, surprise. When I think about the digital spaces, for me, it's been a reflection of digital resistance. And I would say about a year and a half ago, I was invited to contribute a chapter to a book on critical race theory, and they wanted me to focus on media and obviously using critical race theory. And I invited Trina Wright Dixon to co-author this with me. And ultimately, what we wrote about was digital healing spaces. And so it's published as of this year. And in that article, we talk about the importance of digital healing spaces. So that's different from virtual healing spaces, in that we make the point that digital healing spaces are the digital locations where digital intersectional resistance takes place and are essential to the survival or surviving and thriving. And that was from another publication from 2024, of Black women. So even though this is coming from the perspective of a Black female, I think that it applies to other groups, and particularly other groups who that might experience some type of oppression, or it could be oppressions, multiple oppressions that are working at one time. And so, in order for us to um, navigate these spaces to remain well, healthy, whole, and complete. It is imperative, for us to find these spaces, these communities, these locations, these relationships that allow us to heal, as we do our work. And so the writing this chapter was pretty important, and dedicating my research to mentoring. And I think mentoring is a critical part of these spaces. I think it's pretty valuable, and I'm appreciative of the fact that you all have decided to come today and to help us navigate these difficult spaces. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So I'm not sure about you all, but there are plenty of pressures that are placed on me as a Black woman, as a Black person, and as a woman. I'm a full professor, and I'm juggling a lot of things. I may be single and not have children, but there are still pressures on me. Thankfully, my dog is not one of them. He's very independent, so he's doing his own thing. But overall, we all are experiencing some type of pressure. And one thing that I know that I have to deal with, is resisting this superwoman trope. People tend to think that women in general, and Black women in particular, are we have this supernatural, superhuman strength to do all things. And it's not on the slide, but one thing that I'm trying to teach myself to say and do is to learn how to say no. And people say that no is a complete sentence. I need to learn that. It's a partial sentence for me, but I need to learn, that I need to have these boundaries and these spaces, so that I can remain whole and healed, and just be safe and healthy. If I continue to say yes, then that's going to impair me in several ways. That sounds that sounds traumatic. Not impair me to the point where well, anyway, it will impact me in a way that it's avoidable. And so when it comes to the superwoman trope, there's this expectation that Black womanhood, embodies a lot of undue pressures and stressors. And as a result, of these expectations, people, have these expectations that challenging these identity politics. So there's this projection of strength. There's this expectation that we're going to suppress our emotions. We are expected to resist feelings of vulnerability and dependence. We are supposed to succeed despite limited resources. And lastly, we prioritize caregiving over self-care. And I don't know if you all can relate to any of those qualities that that are listed there. But as I'm, reading them and reflecting on my own, journey, I do think about the fact that, yeah, people do expect us to, be moving machines, that we are going nonstop, that we, have committed to all these different areas of our lives as university professors. We're teaching, we're doing our research, we're doing service, we're doing so many things, and we're being pulled in, all these different directions. And sometimes we just can't do it all. And it is okay to say no. And I've finally gotten to the point in my career over the last several years where I'm comfortable telling people, I am sorry that I'm late on this chapter or this journal article or this review or whatever the task is. And I'm telling them that, I'm late because I'm dealing with these various health issues. I've said too much, I've overcommitted, but I'm going to get these things done. And if you can be patient with me, I greatly appreciate it. But if you need to move on, I totally understand that. And thankfully, most people are understanding and they work with me. I commend myself for knowing my limits and knowing what I can and cannot do and adapting accordingly. And I tell people that are willing to, work with me with these adaptations. I tell them thank you as well because, it allows me to, be myself and to be real. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So when you think about the different needs that you have when it comes to, thinking about how you're juggling all of the things in your life, I think, and those, I'm pretty sure that those needs in some way might drive you to digital engagement or, yeah, digital engagement. Why is it you're going, to these different spaces, and how can those different spaces help you with the process of self preservation? This is not on the list, but I see that there's a lot of community in TikTok. I don't go there for therapy. I don't go there to find a specific community. I go there for entertainment. I go there to be distracted. And that is a little bit helpful. Well, I don't know how helpful watching a cat eat a carrot with a knitted hat on, but I do it nonetheless because it's cute. But on a more serious note, there are five different categories of needs for preservation, which are psychological and emotional, communication and relationships, cultural and critical motivations, transformational outcomes, and practical and structural reasons. And so I'm going to give you all a minute to take in this this list, this slide, but I wanted to articulate like the various reasons that we possibly could be seeking these spaces that we are choosing to be a part of, these communities that we can't touch them, we can't feel them, but we can engage with them, through various social media platforms. And the degree to which we engage with them, is going to vary from person to person. It could vary from site to site, but either case, and regardless of what's driving us there or how we engage with those spaces, I believe that these digital spaces certainly serve a function of healing. They're a form of catharsis that, for many people, it's something that they need on a regular basis. They need it on a daily basis, and others, they might just go there, maybe weekly. But whatever the frequency is of use, those spaces, are there. And one thing that really sticks out to me, and I'm going to draw your attention to the transformational outcomes column. You have it's number 3, healing through collective care. To me, that's pretty vital. I think that when we go to these spaces, or at least for me, I can see that I am not alone. I'm not the only one who is thinking, about this. I'm not the only one who's dealing, with this issue. And I might not engage and respond to a person's post, but I'm going to be there, participate in and by liking a post. To me, that's a good way of letting someone know that I see you, you are heard, and there might be other people who are going to provide, a response. And something else that I also, want to note is that there's this, let's see, if we look at practical and structural reasons, the third point from let's see, I would say the fifth and sixth, yeah, the fifth and sixth points, restoration and empowerment. To me, those are pretty important as well, in that sometimes, like the writing retreat, the women after the retreat it has been concluded, they want to meet on a regular basis. So I know I'm slack, the ladies that are here. I'm going to reach out to you all maybe to get together next week. But coming together after that season is semi over and maintaining that community is critical. So we go there for, restoration. Like, yes, I'm with my community, I'm with my people. And then empowerment. People feel encouraged after they are in these spaces. And I apologize, there's a typo in that I have the healing through collective care and reconceptualizing higher education in two different columns. So that must be, it's very important, but I'm going to make sure that this is edited before you all have access to it. So for the sake of time, we're going to just go ahead and move on to like the next section or next part, of this VLO. But these slides will be made available to you all so that you all can reflect on them post VLO. You're on mute.
Okay, here's where you come in. Ideally, you've come into this place to be refreshed and renewed and to give yourself time to just pause and slow down. So this next portion of the VLO is about you, and an opportunity for you to check in on you and to check in to see if you're okay and to see if you're not okay, what are the areas that we can do today for you to give you room and space within our community that we've created today to be cared about, for us to check in essentially on you. So we'll start not by having you do anything other than breathe. To stop, pause, calm down, and breathe. So if you need to close your eyes or make sure you're grounded, with your feet on the floor, just take a few seconds to inhale deeply and exhale. And inhale and exhale. So the goal here is for you to slow down, to just be present, to check in on you. And we have 4 questions that can help facilitate that. And we'll give you time after we ask each question to just respond. This is just between you. There's no necessarily sharing out of any of the things that are on your heart or that are on your mind. It's your time. So use it however you best need to use it. Here's the first question. The first question is, what are your stressors? So if you just take a moment, you're not obligated to put anything in the chat. This is totally your time. Just take a moment to write down for you, what are your stressors? And when you have given yourself a bit of time with question 1, and you're finished, you can put a 1 in the chat. And if you're not ready yet, don't put a 1 in the chat. That's okay. We'll give you more time. This is great. We'll move on to the next question. Second question is, what depletes your energy? And who or what is the source of your hurt? ideally, this gives you an opportunity to not just name and identify stressors, but also name things that deplete your energy, or name objects, individuals, situations that can be a source of your hurt. Again, none of this is being shared out. It's just you checking in with you. And when you're ready, then you can put a 2 in the chat so we know that you're ready to move on. Okay. The third question is, what am I actively doing, or what can I do to bring about or facilitate healing? And when you're finished, you can put a 3 in the chat. You see the pattern here with the questions, right? Okay. And the fourth question is, what mental and emotional behaviors stand in the way of this facilitation of your healing? And for this question, if you don't mind, please put some of these behaviors that represent oftentimes hindrances or ways that impede or infringe on our ability to get the healing that we need. Maybe it's being afraid to ask for help. Maybe it's not wanting to be among the collective. It could be anything, mental and emotional behaviors, um, thoughts, emotions, any of those things that you think of. You can put a 4 if you don't want to share, but if you don't mind sharing some of the mental and emotional behaviors, then our next part of the VLO will provide an opportunity for us as a collective to speak into ways that we can be encouraged and offer advice related to some of the things that are posted there. Yeah, I'm often in my own way. Yes. Thanks for sharing, Rebecca. Yes, guilt. Too busy, too overwhelmed to deal with it. Yes, the feeling that we must be perfect. Mental exhaustion, yes. A reevaluating and a resetting of boundaries. This is good. Rumination, continuing to seek answers to why something happened when that answer will likely never come. Yeah, withdrawing from things to lick my wounds for too long without a plan to reconnect. Yes. Beautifully shared. Thank you so much for sharing. The next part of our time will help us to directly address some of the things that you've shared as a hindrance or a challenge. Okay.
Okay, I apologize. A neighbor has come to the door. They never
Oh,
do.
No worries. I'll get us going. That's not a problem. It always happens whenever, right? As soon as we say slow down and calm, then you have this thing that happens. So it's okay. We're prepared for navigating. So the next part of our time is giving you an opportunity to spend time with the people who are on the Zoom grid, so that we can continue to build and foster community and support for one another. And so we'll have breakout rooms, and the focus of the breakout discussion is pretty simple. You're welcome to share any of your thoughts and comments about the things that we discussed, or the things that you wrote earlier, any part of the things I shared that Tina shared. And we want you, in addition to any conversation you have, to specifically answer this question: what words of encouragement and advice can you offer yourself and or others in their healing journey? Okay, what words? So especially when you think about the things that individuals have placed in the chat on hindrances, how beautiful to be able to speak into some of those roadblocks or ways that can trip us up. And to have individuals on the Zoom grid leave with opportunity to be encouraged by you, and not just individuals who are speaking at you, Dr. Tina Harrison, myself. But collectively, we all have ways that we navigate our journeys. So for you to be able to speak into the experiences of other people would be powerful. Okay, I'm going to turn things over to Tina for her to add more and to give you additional instruction.
Okay. So the idea behind having the breakout section was to provide a more personal space for you all to engage with each other and then obviously come back and share with all of us. Sometimes it is difficult for us to really figure out, like, how do I get out of my own way? How can I be better? How can I take better care of myself when I feel like I'm overwhelmed? And I think that sometimes we can tell someone else what to do. We can encourage them and support them, and we are a little bit harder on ourselves than I think that we actually should be. And I can say that for me too. I tell other people, "Oh, show yourself some grace, take some time out for yourself, make yourself number one, make yourself a priority." And then I find myself running ragged for other people. And so I have been working on that to say, "Hey, I need to, as they say, practice what I preach." So this is the opportunity for you to tell yourself and others how we can practice what we preach. So um, each one of you is going to be randomly assigned to a breakout room. And as you all are in that room, we want you to jot down your comments. Ultimately, you're going to share them on a jam board that you'll have access to once you come back out of the breakout room. But talk amongst yourselves, and you all can determine how comfortable or not you are with communicating with each other. But we're all communicators, so hopefully we'll find a way to communicate one way or another. And we want you all to discuss the question: what words of encouragement and advice can you offer yourself and or others, in their healing journey? So we may all be at different stages. So someone might say, I've got this on lock. And so, yes, I know how to encourage myself and this is what I do and it works. Or you might say, you know what, I really need someone else to tell me what works for them. Or you might say that I've heard this works for other people, or people have, I've shared this with others and then they have, said it works for them. So however you want to define that, we ultimately want to, provide a resource of encouragement that we can all, use and reflect on, beyond today. So you'll have about maybe 15 minutes in your breakout rooms to generate that list, and then we'll come back and have a discussion of those. So Patrick, if you want, you can go ahead and start assigning people. Right. Alrighty, so it looks like you all had a good time, a productive time maybe in your breakout rooms. And so what we'd like to do now is to put up the jam board and have you all um, share the advice that you all have for yourselves or each other when it comes to finding um, healing and possibly within those healing spaces. So, Patrick, if you can go ahead and put that up and then maybe explain how that works. I don't want to give them instructions and they be wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are in collaboration mode. So everybody in here has access to go within each of these different boxes. If you double click within it, it'll start the typing tool and you can enter your responses either as a group or if you had any solo responses that you would like to enter as well. And if you have any issues, you can also drop them in chat and I'd be happy to add those as well. And if you have a really long answer, you can also change the font size to just make sure you have a little extra room.
All right, so they're slowly but surely populating.
You okay, babe? I need to leave in about 20 minutes, 15 minutes.
All righty. Okay, so I'm just going to take a minute to um, point out some, and if there are others that you all would like to highlight as well, by all means, we can certainly do that. So I'm just going to go from left to right. So for overwhelm, prioritize what gives you peace. Find your network of people in our associations. Remind yourself that you are not what you do. Ask for help from those with influence. It's hard, but worth it. Think carefully about your expectations and capacities. For perfection, engage in heavy doses of trial by giving self temporary good enough launch dates. I like that one. I like them all, but that's important. For mental exhaustion, go outside to feel the sun and or hear. I thought that said heat. Don't stay out there too long. And or hear or see something beautiful. Remember who you are apart from your identity as an academic. Pursue activities that fill you up each week. Embrace challenges and as an adventure. Think of retirement as a new journey. Believe in yourself. Dismiss imposter syndrome. You got this. Prioritize the things that fuel you. Focus on fun activities. Work in peace. Avoid some unnecessary. I'm not sure what the rest of that is. Okay. Um, Engagements. Find some new hobbies such as line dancing. Okay, yeah, line dancing. Name the issue to help yourself move and address it. Remember that imposter syndrome is a fallacy. You deserve to be in the spaces that you occupy. One of our group mates reminded us to reframe our thoughts so our thoughts are positive. Celebrate each other's disciplines through fun PD. What is PD?
Professional development.
Professional development.
Okay. Okay. Schedule time for rest. Absolutely. And just breathe. Okay. And I think there was another box, ask for help. Okay. So in looking at, oh, thank you, Shannon. Shannon says she has to go, or they have to go. Um, so looking at the slides. So what are some that stick out to you, and is there anything that's missing that you believe is important when it comes to not only finding that peace and healing. But we can do this. We can do some of these certainly outside of a digital or virtual healing space. But so, what are some of your initial thoughts?
I'm going to say this is outstanding collective wisdom because I'm not so sure that folks in communication studies or even in higher ed more broadly would have been able to assemble a Jamboard with these suggestions and recommendations 20 years ago. Like I'm seeing this as a kind of recognition of the ways in which educators and academics and higher ed practitioners, professionals are really seeing more clearly how the need to take care of ourselves and each other. But that's what first struck me about all of these comments and recommendations is really very encouraging.
Okay, thank you, Claude. Anyone else?
I think there's a theme of being intentional about your schedule, whether that is intentional about rest time, intentional about hobby time. I think a lot of times we just say, oh, well, I'll just not rest or I'll not do what I want to do because I've got too much to grade or another thing to do for my research project. But I think there's this intentionality there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit on that. Definitely prioritize rest. I have been dealing for maybe 12, 13 years. I have been dealing with what I thought was just like pure exhaustion and wondering if the different medical issues I'm dealing with, might be interacting with each other and, what have you. Gone to a couple of doctors asking them for some help, and I'm thinking that, oh, I can tell, I think this is what it is. And when I went to my primary doctor, he had all the information together and he was like, it's not this and it's not that. Do you know what it is? And I was like, I know he's going to tell me something so simple and I'm going to be, embarrassed. And he was like, sleep. You need sleep. And I was like, dang, I'm not telling my family that because they're gonna be like, we told you, or you're doing too much. But for the longest time I was thinking it was one thing, and I'm like, I'm yes, I'm being accomplished doing, tasks for my job and whatnot, but I'm always tired. And he was like, rest is what you need, sleep, good quality sleep. And so I have prioritized that. And I'm proud of myself. I got 7 hours of good sleep last night, and according to this Aura ring, it told me as much. It was like, yes, so it was able to break it down. So, I think that however we need to get that rest, even if it's a nap, I love a good nap. So, we need to do whatever we can to make sure that that our health is prioritized. All right, we have another post. Time monitor your withdrawal and determine the point, timing, and perhaps criteria for re-entry. That's a good point. Anybody else want to elaborate a bit more on any of the posts? No? Okay, so I'm going to flip it a little bit. So what have you done in the past that you've learned that you thought, maybe initially you thought it was going to work, but now you're like, oh, if I were to give someone else advice about this, I would tell them don't do X, what not to do. So what would be some advice you would have for anyone who's trying to be in this space of peace? And if you don't want to speak up, you can also write it in the chat. Maybe this will get the ball rolling. I was talking with Jeanetta while you all were in the break, in your breakouts, and I said I try to emphasize to people that yeah, in some ways or another, we probably have all dealt with imposter syndrome, maybe in varying degrees. We think that we don't belong where we are. or maybe you're included in a project and you don't think that your work is good enough. And it can be a barrier. It can, prevent you from, being all that you can be. And one thing that I try to encourage other people about to do is to reject that whole idea. Well, imposter syndrome is real, but don't embrace that. Don't own it. I mean, each one of us, I don't know where everyone is in terms of if you're faculty, if you're a graduate student, or what rank you are, but whatever space you're in, you deserve to be there. And so don't question that. Walk in that and be confident in that. And I take it a step further and I tell people, even if it's a graduate student who's just like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do all this. And I tell them, look at how many people have earned their PhD or their master's degree. You are in that number. You can do this. It's not impossible. And I do the same thing for people that are working towards tenure. So reject that whole imposter syndrome. And Meredith says, don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. Give yourself grace. Don't panic. And then Claude, don't wait or put off for later initiating change for yourself. So true.
Mhm.
And then Mary says, be intentional about peace.
Mhm.
Yes, intentionality. Fang says, love yourself. Very important. Because if you can't love yourself, then who can?
Now, I would also add to the conversation, you know, I center like around 3 areas that are don'ts for me that often, this is Jeanetta speaking to Jeanetta, that y'all get to overhear, right? And those are the 3 S's, right? I call it a 3S dance. It's don't shrink, don't suppress, and don't settle. Because what happens is I find myself becoming some other version of me that is not a desirable state, right? When I shrink or I don't come in my full, self, or I suppress, meaning I don't address things that perhaps need to be addressed, or I settle, meaning that it's all right, it's not that important, right? Like instead of stepping into, or even giving yourself permission to figure out the things that you might really do want, right? So those can, for me, be catastrophic. And so I've learned to kind of go, ooh, is this a choice or is this me behaving in these ways across these 3 things? And then this is connected to, who said it? Somebody said it about, oh, Meredith, I think, and to a certain extent, Fang, right? And that's don't speak harshly to yourself. And it connects back to what I think Tina mentioned earlier about how we communicate and speak to ourselves. Like sometimes, maybe it's not you, but I found that I really need to be mindful of my inner critic, the voice in my head, right? Speaking to me and about my capabilities. Because if that voice in our head that should be encouraging us is the loudest, right? Then that means we're doing serious, serious damage to us in terms of the way in which we're speaking to us about us. And so, yeah, those are some of my don'ts. And so I would say, okay, instead, man, what does it look like when when I'm bigger, bolder? What does it look like? Okay, what does it look like if I'm pursuing excellence, right? What does that look like, right? Because we spend so much time thinking about what we can't do or not do, or concerns, like, okay, what does it look like if this is excellent? Like, okay, well then that's what I want. So let me focus on that, and then also like, man, if I spoke to myself in ways that were kind, right, that entertain the possibilities of like my existence, what does that sound like? And it usually sounds like being gracious and being kind and being gentle. And also, like, we're on the Zoom grid today talking about and giving ourselves room, right? And space. That's also like fantastic, like time well spent. Like, I gave myself time, right? Like, how else can I invest in myself? That should be our questions, right? Like, if I'm going to do the work, right? And we're all, I think committed to doing the work. If we're going to do the work, we can't do the work if we're not sustaining our ability to actually function. And so making sure that, we check in on ourselves from time to time and put ourselves in spaces and communities that enable us to really be able to do the work and to do the work well with excellence and enjoy it. That really matters.
Mhm. And what you just mentioned relates to what Kara has noted here. Don't work to exhaustion. You aren't good to anyone when depleted. And that is
Yeah.
so true. So if you feel like you are, you're run down, you're exhausted, do whatever you can to re-energize. And then when you come back, reprioritize those tasks that you know that you have to get done and do them in a way so that you don't return to that space. And this kind of relates to what Shannon had put in a box, which was don't be afraid to say no. So if you
Mhm.
have to say no to something, don't feel guilty about it. And you're preaching to the choir here, Shannon. Something that I have started to learn how to do. Well, I'm learning. So like this summer, I wrote 7 tenure letters for people, and I made a mistake and told them when they were in their graduate programs, or maybe even when they were early in their career, they said, I met them and I was like, oh, I would be honored to write a letter for you. Just let me know. And they all let me know at the same time. And I was like, oh man, I wish they could like stagger that out. But I went ahead and I did it. I was drained by the end of it. But in the future, what I will do is I'm going to make a list of other scholars that I can recommend that that can write those letters instead of me, because I can't do it all. And I'm not thinking that I'm the only one that they're asking. But if I say no, I want to be able to have a backup for them so that that person can, really have someone write a strong letter for them, at that point in their career. But yeah, so learning how to say no is important. Fang says, keep life simple. And Meredith says, your point of enjoyment, Jeanetta, has also reminded me, of some advice I heard lately. Don't ever forget why you were drawn to the classroom to begin with, and keep that motivation central to all you do. So true. So true. Yeah.
Meredith's comment back to me, this is funny, and then Tina, your comments reminded me of something else that I was told once. One scholar, she's so funny. She made us practice. This is gonna sound funny. She made us practice saying, "No, that is just not possible." So I'm gonna ask us to practice. You don't have to unmute yourself, but you do say it with me on the count of 3. Go. No, that
That
is
is
just
just
not
not
possible.
possible.
Okay. So sometimes like, I was like, oh, that's how you say it, and it was so funny. But and then, so no, it's just not possible. Like, no, sometimes it's just not possible for me to take on one more thing and to be honorable or to be able to honor the commitment. It's just not possible. Um, at other times, I will say the answer is not no, it's just not possible. It's yes, and here's how. So a yes, and here's how is not an unequivocal yes, I will do this. It's a yes, and here's how I can do that. It means this, or it is done at this time, or yes, I can do that not in October, but in April when I have more availability, right? And I don't have to explain the here's how. I just have to go through the process for me of deciding, is that something worth my time? Is that something worth my energy? Is the timing fitting what I'm working? So like that was another wonderful thing that I learned that I'll pass along to you. Okay, I'm quiet now.
Yeah.
Dr. Harris, I'm quiet.
And Rebecca makes a note here, that I think is important, which is don't be afraid to say yes. Yeah, don't be afraid to say yes to things that might make you a little bit uncomfortable, but are putting you in a healthy space to where you can, attend a workshop, maybe social hour with a professional association you belong to, having coffee with a colleague, or meeting with a student about something fun like prepping them for a job interview. These can bring fulfillment, joy, and help create a great feeling of connection. And then I see someone else's filling in a slot that says, don't pre, well, I'll let them finish. I'll read what they're writing slowly. Don't be afraid to say no or yes to what brings you joy or fulfillment. Or yes, and here's how. Okay, and here's how to, what you might prefer. Okay, all right. Okay, so any other thoughts that you all would like to share that you didn't see mentioned maybe? No. Okay. All right.
I'll unmute and say one
Oh,
thing.
okay.
I was starting to type it, but I'll just unmute. So
Okay.
a person in our breakout room talked about having rest days for herself and then also like walking days. I'd love to learn more about that. I don't want to put her on the spot. Like walking, learning days. I just want to, a word of encouragement to the group is if you aren't already doing it, engage teaching, engage learning is a wonderful way to give yourself a little space, bring play into the classroom, and inspire students to connect with each other, which also ends up kind of spreading joy beyond your walls. And I've done things where I literally have small table teams playing Jenga and compete against each other, or large puzzles in the classroom, or even days where they literally, I bring crayons and pens and colored pencils and I have them color and talk to each other. But I also do worksheets and other things that are more relevant to the topic at hand. But I find that by bringing that engaged teaching and learning into the classroom, it brings me joy because it gives me just a little bit of a break from having to be like profound or whatever all the time. But it also it gives students permission to break out of their own shells as well. So.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'm not sure if that's you typing, but somebody's typing that in. All right, Catherine says, make deep connections with people who fill you up no matter how much time you get to spend with them, even if it's once a year at a conference. That's a great point. And something that I have done in that regard is, I make a list of all the people that I want to make sure that I connect with, at the whatever conference I'm going to. And then I, connect with them and I'm like, okay, this person, we're going to have lunch. This person, I want to meet for coffee, and so on. That way you don't miss those moments because I'm sure, I mean, there's so many people in our, in our organization that you can't meet with everyone. I mean, I wish I could have a big old dinner where hundreds of people can come, but, that's just not possible. And so I've got to figure out how to make that work. And I think being intentional about that time to connect, is good. And something else that I think is really important, is, those people that, that we're close to, or maybe even not, that you might have their phone number with or their email. If they cross your mind, reach out to them and let them know, hey, you crossed my mind and I just want to check on you and see how you're doing. And that can make someone's day. I mean, that might be exactly what they needed. And I believe that people want to just know that, hey, people care about them. I mean, we are more than just our jobs. And yes, there's a strong connection there, but we are more, than that. And we, should, show that appreciation as much as, as much as we can. Okay. Um, all right. So we're gonna work with Patrick, who's in the national office, to pull this together. I'm not sure exactly. This is my first time doing a Jamboard, but he might be able to explain it a little bit better than I am. But we'll be able to like pull all these resources together. We'll pull this content together, so that everyone can have it, and then reflect on it, and possibly even incorporate it into your life after today. Maybe you can like start implementing it at 12:30 or 1:30 your time, whichever time zone you're in. Before I forget, Fang wrote, I started using 5 C's this semester for my teaching students learning, for my teaching and students learning: commitment, connections, confidence, clarify, and conciseness. This seems to work well so far. Yes. Yes. So if we can get some more information on Fang, would you like to elaborate a little bit as far as like what that means or how that, what does that look like?
Oh, yes, I'm trying to unmute. Oh, yes, because I'm teaching 4 sections of Introduction to Communication. So each section has 18 students. It's, I have to organize them very well. I want to do a better job, but I'm thinking about, because most of my students are freshmen, they are from different states. So I'm thinking about how can I get them together, the first class meeting. So I think about, okay, what could be the problem? Information overload, right? Homesick, and some mental health issue, or I'm thinking about common problems among the young people. They are just enter the college, the transitional time. I think about, okay, they get to work, they get make efforts, but make sure they are not work alone. They're alone together with other person because they are digital people. They don't want to connect with people in person if they're in a new place. So that's why I encourage them to talk to other person that can help them. I'm not only person can help them. Their peers are available. Some other professors are available. I sent them to all campus-wide activities. Ask them to go there and they did a speech practice out of a storytelling, whatever you did. I give them points to make connections. And then confidence, because they are making speech, they talk with each other. I want to build them the confidence level. The confidence level, explain to them. Confidence meaning you get accept a failure. That's a confidence, right? You may not got an A for my class, but you tried. But you need to talk confidently. And the clarity, because mentally clarity is what's what I pointed out to the class. You get to know what's your intention. You get to know what you're doing every single day. If you are lost, I would love to talk with you. And also you get to clear about whatever conversation is, whoever you talk with, you know why you're talking there. And then concise. How can we make it clear? Be concise. You don't have to work too hard, but as long as you got a point. So straightforward, make life simple. So we're gonna have fun. So that's why I think I try to make them to work together, build up confidence in an organized way. That's how I create that.
Okay, good. Thank you for sharing that. I wrote that down, so I'll be trying to adapt that myself. But I think that we have a lot of information here, a lot of tips, advice, and I'm not sure about you all, but I think there's also a lot of information here that lets us know that we are not alone. We all, are trying to juggle so many things, and the advice that we are giving not only ourselves but each other, affirms, that fact. And this is also reflective of a need. So there's a thirst, for management. So how do we deal with this in these digital spaces? So I'm hoping that I'm not sure what can come out of this, but I believe that as we move forward as an organization, and in my role with NCA, that we can do something that will continue to edify the body and bring opportunities like this into fruition. So thank you all for this opportunity. So we haven't decided yet. Do we have another slide after this, Jeanetta, about spring?
It's just a summary slide, so
Okay.
that I can certainly share it. That reminds us that we will gather again in the spring. And we have not decided the date. It's to be determined, but in the same way that you heard about today's date, you'll have an opportunity to hear about the spring. And it will be similar in terms of giving you room and space to pause and to learn from others who can enhance and encourage you on your journey. And before we leave today, I do want to make sure that we say a huge thank you to our national office team Patrick that you've heard
Yes.
us referring to behind the NCA
Yes.
logo. There is a real Patrick. I don't know if he's going to show himself or not, but Patrick has been fantastic and ideating with us for this and coming up with the idea of the Jamboard, which was his idea. And he and the national office team will be following up to get copies of the Jamboard to all of us who registered. And so that's fantastic. So thanks to Patrick, thanks to Annie and Bree and Alexis, thanks to Justin Danowski, our executive director. So there are a lot of national office team members behind the scenes who do a lot of work. And we want to make sure that we acknowledge them and say thank you. And I thank Dr. Tina Harris for her work as well. Also thanking her in advance of the convention for all the wonderful work associated with the convention too, because that's definitely a lot of work, and we're looking forward to connecting and to being together. So I'll turn things back to you, Tina, to close.
Okay, and I want to thank all of our participants for coming. If you all did not come, we would just be chilling out here on Zoom, which we don't mind doing. But we were glad that we were able to present this opportunity for you all. And not only did I'm hoping that you all took something from this, but we've taken something, as well, because, I believe that we are all perpetual learners, and that's what we wanted to do today was to just learn, what can we do to be a better version of ourselves. So thank you all so much. And we hope that you all take all this information to heart, take care of yourselves, make yourselves number one, get that rest and do things that will allow you to enjoy the spaces that you're in. So we appreciate you, and hopefully we will see you in Denver.
Yes.
All
Have a
righty.
wonderful day, everyone. Thanks for
Yes, thank
coming.
you for coming.